Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Who would join Sevilla in the Copa Del Rey final? Would it be Barcelona? Would it be Valencia? Would it be Rodrigo? Would it be Lionel Messi? Something had to give. Their league encounter finished 1-1 at the Mestalla. Barcelona narrowly won at the Camp Nou over a week ago in the first leg, but here Valencia needed goals. Barcelona needed another goal to secure the tie. Who would get the job done? Will Barcelona, beyond their quest for another historic treble, would Valencia take one step further to winning their first piece of silver in a very long time? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, I'm going to break down Barcelona against Valencia. So Barcelona, Valencia's second leg of the Copa del Rey. The first leg was mostly all Barcelona, but they did look susceptible to counterattacks in the second half once their pressing died down. Would Valencia use the same formation here, where they switch it up? In the first leg, they played more of a 4-5-1. They played deeper, but they couldn't get past Barca's counter press, and that was a big issue. So we didn't know if they wanted to sit deep at home where they need to score a goal to stay in the tie. When we look at the board, we have Valencia in the red, we have Barca in the blue. Valencia switched their formation. They were more of a 4-3-1-2. They had Rodrigo behind Vieto and Simone Zaza in midfield. They had Parejo, they had Kondogbia, and they had Coquelin in midfield. And Barca didn't really change things up drastically. It was still more of their 4-2-2-2, where they had Messi and Suarez up front. They had Gomez and Iniesta in midfield, cutting in from the wide areas. Then they had Rakitic and Busquets in midfield. So what really changed here? Well, Valencia's shape changed. And what did that do? Well, obviously they sat a bit deeper. They soaked up the pressure, but they wanted to really stop Barca from playing out the back and stop Barca from dominating and getting overlaps. So the reason why they had this too was that once Barca broke deep and obviously Rakitic kind of pushed a bit forward, they would have the forwards pressing the center backs. They would have Rodrigo sort of flundering around Busquets, and they had the midfield cover the center areas. What the midfielders did was that they'd have Kondogbia push out there to the right. They have Coquelin push out to his right and Kondogbia push out to his left, but then Parejo would be left in midfield by himself, and that was a big issue dealing with Lionel Messi. And there were a few times where Messi got the ball in these spaces, but what happened was that these two would converge in, and it would lead to fouls around the box because they were unable to stop Messi and they didn't want him to break into the box alone. It was key in the aspect that Iniesta never really got into the game because Coquelin always pushed out and ensured that if the fullbacks wanted to go forward, there was always a man there to prevent them from playing. We got to put the goalkeeper back there, obviously. There's obviously an extra man, but that was the big issue there. Rakitic and Busquets kind of had freedom to play simple passes. Busquets played a few intricate passes, but what Barcelona did to try and alleviate that was that if one player was there and obviously the fullbacks would come out there, they had Messi kind of drifting out into these wide areas, creating overloads. He didn't really get much going on this side because Andre Gomez didn't offer much going forward. And then when you go to this side, Iniesta was stopped by Coquelin. So Messi didn't really offer much in that sense. He was floating laterally across the pitch, and he did cause a few issues, but he didn't really create, Barca didn't really create any chances in the first half. There was one opportunity where Messi picked up the ball more on a counterattack and he cut in because he wasn't closed down quickly enough by Gaia, and he whipped across. He whipped a shot just inches wide of the post, but in that sense, Barca were pretty conservative with their play. They didn't want to play a fast-paced game because they didn't want to get hit on the counterattack. They slowed the tempo down. They controlled the game from that aspect. And Valencia, from this perspective, were able to get more counterattacks because although Barca counter-pressed and they did stop them from playing out the back in certain occasions, they had Rodrigo, who was a disciplined runner, breaking down. And then if we pulled these guys back, Simone Zaza was trying to get on the end of Jordi Alba to use his height advantage to knock balls into the net, but that didn't really work out, and MTD covered well for most aspects. They didn't really get anything going, and that was the big issue. When you look at Valencia's chances in the first half, you think about the guy across into the box where Rodrigo got ahead of Piqué and knotted it just off the bar, and then you think about another chance from distance where Rodrigo took a shot and Silicen pushed it away. The second half kind of opened up a bit. There was the one change where we had Andre Gomez come out of the game for Coutinho, and Barcelona instantly responded, but it wasn't down to Coutinho's arrival that really changed the game. It was just down to a systematic error that occurred. Usually Iniesta was playing on the left, so Coquelin was out there, but now what had happened was that Iniesta was bringing the ball through midfield. Coquelin didn't move out wide, and that meant that this player had to push forward to get closer to He pushed forward to Alba, and then Suarez was able to run into this area, and that was the key there. They stayed neutral. There was space for Suarez to drift into. It was intelligent. He dragged Garay out of position. He beat Garay. Then everyone has to shift over to cover for Garay, and then Coutinho was able to cut in, and then it was a superb finish. You didn't expect him to score from there, but great individual brilliance from Suarez. You didn't expect that from him. We haven't seen that from him in a very long time, probably back to his Liverpool days, but that's kind of how they got stretched out for the first goal. And that was key because it changed the game. Valencia obviously turned to their bench. They went to more of a 4-4-2 in the second half after the goal. And we saw more of this. It was Parejo and Kondogbia in midfield. Guedes came on for Rodrigo. And then we saw Soler come on as well. So we had Soler on one end, Guedes on the other end. We had Parejo. Soler came on for Coquelin. And then we had Parejo and Kondogbia play forward. And what had happened here was, when we pushed these guys back, was that now we had one of the midfielders pushing out to Busquets. The pressing was more intense. They had to push forward. They kind of forced Barcelona into some errors, and they were more direct in the second half, and that led to chances. We saw Guedes get a few chances where he bombed past Sergio Roberto. One led to a cross that Zaza couldn't guide towards goal. We look at the other one where he nodded it back to Soler, and then he pushed it back to fullback Gaia, and then he forced a great save from Silas in point-blank range. That could have changed the game. Vieto had a chance where he was found between the lines because Busquets and Rakitic were kind of out of sorts due to the press. He dragged across the box. He forced a save from Silas. There was a bit of a spell where they did create chances due to their direct play. That wasn't enough because Soler and Guedes were coming in field, and then Guedes wasn't scared to run at Sergio Roberto, and he got the better of Sergio Roberto. Paulinho came in, pushed Rakitic wide, and Iniesta came off, kind of settled the ship. And then we look at the second goal. It's just down to the work ethic of Luis Suarez, forcing Gabriel, who switched over to the other side, pressing him after Gabriel had won the ball, takes the ball off him, breaks forward, and another unselfish pass to Rakitic, who was breaking into the box. A superb finish, 2-0 Barcelona. The historic treble lives on. They weren't as great as we expect them to be here, but they were efficient. They controlled the game well. They dealt with Valencia's pressing. Obviously, there was a spell where they did struggle, but besides that, they found ways to get around it. They coped, and this is the Barcelona side that you want to see heading forward in form, top of the line. And with Valencia, it was just a bit of hard luck. They had their chances. They created a systematic error leads to the goal, and they have to chase. And just like the first leg, they weren't able to get the job done. Well, let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.